Right, hey guys, welcome back to Pete's Back Garden. It's Bank Holiday Monday, and I'm in the back garden, obviously. I haven't managed to get down the allotment. Storm Katie came last night and we had loads and loads of rain. Luckily no damage here. To all those people that have been posting stuff about damage, I hope you managed to get it sorted out and doesn't affect your growing season. Right, what I'm going to do today, I had a comment or a conversation with someone on a I think it was Life at the Allotment, said, can you fill raised beds just with compost? Well, I'll show you what I've done, and also I'm going to prepare my onion bed, so I'll just show you. Right. When I first started gardening about 3 years ago, I built those 3 short beds, and that edged border, that was actually the final one. This bed wasn't here. And what I did, I filled, I built all 3 of them in the weekend, and I filled the end one and this one completely with Verve type generic compost from the garden centre. It cost me about 40 quid, right? And I grew in it for the first year. This one only had a couple of bags of compost in it because it was quite soily. I'd found out that what they'd done is our house used to have those rubbish stones on them, and they buried them all, and this is where they buried them. I think I mentioned that in a previous video. That bed at the end, these all got manured in the first year, but before the end of the first year I built this bed, and this was completely filled with compost for the first year, and I grew in it all year, and all I did was like a tomato feed or top dress with a bit of bloodfish and bone. End of the first year I bought loads of stable manure from the garden centre. I didn't want to go and get stuff from a farmer or something because I didn't know what was in it, and I didn't introduce any slugs or any pests or stuff. So I went and bought the stuff from the shop, top dressed it all with manure, as you can see, covered it. I cover it all every Christmas, and then did that again the second year. And that bed, in the second year, this bed became my onion bed, and I completely, I dug it down 2 foot, all the compost and the manure I put on, and I riddled it by hand. Just dug a big trench at this end, piled it up over there, and then just slowly riddled it. Took it from there, riddled it back, and just carried on. And that's really fine. And I've got them parsnips in I put the other day. Probably going to put carrots in here, but there might be a couple of onions, show onions, going in this end, because this bed and the end of this bed just here gets the most sunshine. So, but right back to this bed. Yeah, this was pure compost, stable manured. 2 years, and look, oh look, there's a worm there. I'm not going to stick him in the compost bin because I don't know the difference between earthworms and compost worms, but I've been told they're different. So yeah, you can build a raised bed just with shop compost, and it works for a year. It worked for me for a year. That's my grittiest bed, most soiliest. I'm leaving it like that because I'm going to do my brassicas and cabbage and stuff, and they like it nice and firm. And as you can see, it's really quite light. Right, so that answers that question. What I'm going to do now is prepare the onion bed. I've never done this before. Like I say, this has been stable manured again last year and covered up with this bit of carpet. Plenty of worms in there, but I'm going to prepare it this year because I didn't do it last year, and I just think obviously it will benefit. So I'm going to scatter it with some volcanic rock dust that I got from the Edel Garden Show, and I've got this calcified seaweed. This is a substitute. Actually no, I've got the wrong one in. I've got another one in there. Is it in the greenhouse? Ah, there it is. Got the wrong one. This is Vitax calcified seaweed. There's not a lot left in there, so I might put some of that on it as well, or failing that I'll go and get some of my Medwin's ground stuff that I've got, but I don't really want to waste that. Well, it won't be a waste, but, and I'm toying with the idea of putting a little bit of bloodfish and bone on it. So right, I'll get on with that and I'll show you what I've done in a bit. Right, just one thing I forgot to mention. It's quite compact, this soil. So what I've done, I've put about 15 litres of sharp sand, and I'm going to rake that in or mix it in and give it a bit more body. Just don't panic anybody, it's not straight from the builder's yard, it's not covered in any chemicals or anything. It's been in that carrot box. Ooh, it's a bit bright, for 3 years, so it's well washed through, and it'll probably have a few bits of nutrient in it anyway. So right, I'll get on and rake that in. Right, that's all the sharp sand raked in. I think that's more than enough. You can see, look, it's just giving it a little bit of body, same as your perlite and your vermiculite and stuff, but I'm spending loads of money on that out here. Sand's natural and it's recycled from the box. So let's get on, put all the magic ingredients in, as Dan says, and I'll show you again in a minute. Right, that's the fertilisers on. I decided I'd put a little bit of bloodfish and bone on. You can see the different colours, calcified seaweed, the rock dust. Lovely. Right, I'll mix that in, show you when it's finished, and that'll be done. Cheers. Well, welcome back. Taking me about 20 minutes. All of the fertiliser, move around, it's been raked in along with the sand and stuff.